Fallout New Vegas. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start. It's the favorite Fallout game here at FudgeMuppet, and we're sure it is for many of you watching this video. The world building is amazingly creative and in-depth, the quests are extremely well thought out and put together, and the factions are some of the most unique and coolest creations ever seen in the Fallout universe. It's a sensational game, and as you play it, you're faced with a variety of challenges. These challenges usually come in the form of some sort of enemy or a group of enemies. Fallout New Vegas, including all the DLC, has a very extensive list of enemy groups, and within these groups a large variety of enemy types. For example, there are 9 different types of Deathclaws and 11 different feral ghouls in the game. Obviously you don't find every single type of them when you're a low level, but eventually you come across more and more enemies you hadn't seen before as you find undiscovered locations, complete new missions, and very importantly, become more powerful. It's one of the many aspects of Fallout New Vegas that keeps it so fresh, and you don't find these super lethal enemies early on for good reason. That reason obviously being that you'd end up dead. However, do remember that this isn't always the case. There are plenty of powerful enemies in Fallout New Vegas that are strong regardless of what level you are. They're just in locations you wouldn't normally be going to, although again there are exceptions to that, such as the extremely fearsome Deathclaws of Quarry Junction, a location not too far from where you begin the game. Generally speaking, however, most of the time you'll encounter more powerful enemies as you level up and become more powerful yourself, and ever since creating our video on who is the strongest enemy in Fallout 4, we've been wondering who the winner is in New Vegas. We scoured the net looking for an answer to no avail. However, we went straight to our own testing to reveal the truth, and it seems like some Fallout fans were very wrong, while a select few were right on the money. The link to our Fallout 4 video on this topic can be found in the description below, but in this video we're going to be taking an adventure into the Mojave, talking about some of the most intense enemies and explaining which single enemy takes the crown. Do note that in this video we are not going to be taking into account whether or not enemies come in groups or whether or not they are really hard to fight at a low level. It also doesn't include cut content. We are simply taking each in-game enemy as an individual, looking at how they perform by themselves against the courier and against other enemies, fully maxed out as their highest level variant possible. So for those who have mastered the Wasteland, you'll probably get very nostalgic when you open up a list of every enemy in Fallout New Vegas online. I know that I did, as I was reminded of all the different bastards that tried their best to kill me during my playthrough. Fire Ant Soldiers, Night Stalkers, Lobotomites, and Giant Evolved Centaurs. The whole lot of them were really nostalgic to look at, even if it was for the 100th time. I'll talk about many of these enemies in this video, and the first I want to start with are the Ghost People of the Dead Money DLC. These enemies are easily one of the most annoying in all of the Fallout series history. These mutated humans have been changed permanently by the Cloud, which is the thick red smog found all over Sierra Madre, made from corrosive rust-like toxins unique to the location. The Cloud is reabsorbed by the hazmat suit these ghost people wear, keeping them constantly mutated and unable to be killed by normal means. They jump and lurch about, throwing spears and slashing at you with them while looking incredibly creepy in their gas masks, and that's not even mentioning the jarring noise they make. These adversaries were incredibly annoying as they didn't take extra damage if you shot them in the head, and the only way for you to truly kill them was for you to take apart their limbs, dismembering them or having them eaten by your companion dog. Otherwise, they'll eventually get back up and keep attacking. The strongest Ghost Person Trapper variant has 625 health points, which is definitely a lot, and the highest level Ghost People can do some decent damage too. Thankfully, things will be much easier with the Bloody Mess perk, and obviously you would know they're not the strongest enemy in the whole game, but they're definitely worth a mention on the list for being so sturdy and creepy. Another enemy which people rave about as being very difficult to fight is Night Stalkers. These beasts are a hybrid species, a mix between coyote and rattlesnake, created by a scientist of course. They're pack animals, and they do quite a bit of damage too. For example, the legendary Night Stalker does 100 damage with a melee strike, which is definitely nothing to laugh at and dismiss. That said, this legendary Night Stalker only has 250 health points. This isn't exactly low, but when you're a high level, you can tear through any Night Stalker very fast. They're quick creatures too, but because of their fragile nature, they definitely won't be taking the top spot on our list. Remember, the main reason people have problems with Night Stalkers is because you'll often have to face them in packs, which can have around 5 members. Then, if you're not prepared, you will have a problem. A beast which crossed my mind as formidable while researching this was the Yao Guai, and the most powerful one you'll come across is actually the one that's on fire, known as the Ghost of She. You fight this one tripped out on a plant-derived drug. It has 550 health points and dishes out around 120 damage per strike. It can often be challenging, as during the quest you fight it in, it will even produce duplicates of itself. Obviously, this is all set to happen because you're high, and when you use console commands to spawn the Ghost of She, this duplication does not happen, although the beast is still permanently on fire. It's a fun and often challenging fight, however this enemy still is nowhere near top dog, or top bear in this case. There are some enemies that are far more menacing simply because they have guns, and unlike melee-based enemies, guns grant the user range. Notable enemies include the Super Mutant Master, which carries a minigun, has a health of 360 and a damage threshold of 15. Thankfully, a minigun only does 12 damage per bullet, so if you have a high enough damage threshold, it won't kill you too fast. However, if you're under the threshold, you will die extremely rapidly, with the high DPS of the minigun ripping you to shreds. That said, it will still be quite the annoyance if you do have strong armor, but overall wouldn't pose a threat like those of melee creatures who strike once but deal over 100 damage with that singular strike. There's also the Y-17 Master Trauma Harness from the Old World Blues DLC. This is the moving corpse of Mr. Harris, animated by the highly advanced robotic harness. This enemy has 261 health but a damage threshold of 20 and a gun skill of 100 while carrying the K9000 Cyberdog gun. It's not the most powerful gun in the entire game and does lower DPS than a minigun, sitting at 182. It's still respectable damage, and because each bullet does 26 damage, it'll punch through much sturdier armor than a minigun, making the enemy about as difficult or often more difficult than the Super Mutant Master. But let's pull out one of the big guns here, which ironically isn't an enemy with a big gun. One really strong bugger to fight in Fallout New Vegas is the Tunneler. Tunnelers can make short work of Super Mutant Masters and the Y-17 Master Trauma Harness, believe me. The strongest of these abominations is called the Tunneler Queen, and she comes in with 475 health, which is good, although she has no damage threshold, and a massive melee damage of 175. This is huge melee damage, and can easily wipe you out in a few swipes. Tunnelers are also fast, meaning they can run up to their targets quickly and chase them down too. So Michael, why isn't the Tunneler the strongest enemy in Fallout New Vegas? Well, it has one big flaw, and this flaw is that the Tunneler has to plant itself to attack you. It cannot attack you on the move like a Cazador or a Deathclaw can. Instead, it runs up to you really fast, but then stands still, swipes, and then gets back to moving. The flaw in this technique is that if you keep on running away from the Tunneler, constantly moving backwards, you actually won't be hit. The Tunneler will run up to you, stand still as you keep moving backwards out of its range, and then it swipes the air and misses you completely. It's one of those powerful enemies that definitely can deal heaps of damage, especially indoors, but it falls short when it comes to realistically playing the game, because we can all just keep moving away and we'll be alright. Just make sure you don't get cornered. Now interestingly, some soldiers can destroy tunnelers in combat, especially the irradiated variety of soldiers, such as the Legionnaires you find after blowing apart Legion territory at the end of the Lonesome Road DLC, if you chose to. One of these is the irradiated Legionary Veteran. This guy has a massive 610 health, a damage threshold of 13, and carries either a brush gun, a marksman carbine, or an anti-material rifle. He can dish out heaps of damage, and as a result can kill the player pretty fast if you're not well protected. With deadly accurate guns, it also means he can do it from a range, so this guy is definitely someone to fear. Some of these irradiated Legion members even can use a stealth boy, making a fight against them even more worrisome. Another humanoid who can tear you apart with their gun, even faster than the irradiated Legion members, is Joshua Graham. The only thing with him is he's not exactly an enemy unless you go and make him one. He's got 440 health and a damage threshold of 50. His gun, called a Light in Shining Darkness, can dish out 144 base damage per second, and Joshua has 100 in the gun skill, so don't double cross him. He's arguably even a little harder to defeat than Legate Lanius, who is also worthy of mention. Many people have believed him to be the most powerful enemy in the whole game, with his 920 120 health points, extremely high resistances, and a damage threshold of 19. He swings the Blade of the East rapidly with a melee weapon skill of 100 and also has 5 incendiary grenades which he can throw at you. It's a tough battle, but as those who have defeated Caesar's Legion probably know, it's no sweat for an endgame character. It's usually the enemies that are found in the DLCs which were created after Fallout New Vegas was already out, after Legate Lanius was already defeated by players around the world, who are the most powerful. One of these enemies is simply known as Ayers, and he is a colonel of the NCR who can become heavily irradiated by your final Lonesome Road DLC choice. You find him at long 15 and he's got 790 health, extremely high resistances as he is now a ghoul, 10 in every special stat, 100 in energy weapons, explosives, guns, and the melee weapon skill, and he's got a damage resistance of 24. He's in an irradiated place and radiation heals him rapidly. Fighting him definitely makes for a mini boss battle, and he's one of the strongest enemies in the game, wielding a plasma caster that does 195 base damage per second and has a base damage of 65 per shot. This is already going to be super devastating, especially considering that he has 100 in the energy weapon skill, but on top of all of this, he actually uses overcharged microfusion cells. This actually gives his plasma caster increased damage and armor penetration, allowing him to kill a level 50 character in just 3 or 4 shots. It's crazy stuff. He's even immune to knockdown and would defeat every enemy so far in this video. As we progress through this list, these enemies keep getting stronger and stronger, and we grow closer to finding our winner. One contender I want to quickly mention is actually another ghoul, a unique feral ghoul simply called the Overseer. You find the Overseer in the Overseer's office in Vault 34, and it has a unique yellow-orange glow. This boss character has a mammoth amount of health points, clocking in at 900. This is absolutely insane. However, luckily for you, it doesn't have a damage threshold. It does, however, possess the speed to chase you down and the melee attack power to deal a staggering 100 points of damage with each and every strike. This ghoul is no joke and can even cause an explosion of radiation and heals from radiation around it. That all said, I still think I'd rather fight the Overseer than battle Ayers. Get very excited, ladies and gentlemen, because we now enter the top 4. Coming in at spot number 4, we have the one and only, the incredibly poisonous wasteland pesketeer, the Cazador. These incredibly agile insectoids are very hard to consistently hit in combat, and when they hit you, it really hurts. Even if you manage to shoot them in the head, it does no additional damage, so your best bet is to spray at their wings to slow them down. That said, even with a crippled wing, they'll still come at you too fast for comfort. So picking between the two strongest Cazadors, the legendary Cazador and Specimen 73 from Old World Blues, the legendary Cazador turns out to be the best. It has 400 health points compared to the massive 675 of Specimen 73. However, it does 120 damage and Specimen 73 only does 70 damage. They both have no damage threshold and both deal additional poison damage. 8 points for 30 seconds, meaning that being hit once by one of these beasts can quickly lead even strong characters to an unexpected demise. These creatures also attack in swarms, making them more deadly, although as I said at the start of this video, we're only looking at them individually anyway, in which case this creature still comes in at spot number 4. The thing that truly makes this creature powerful, especially when compared to something like the Tunneler, is that you can't run away from a Cazador. It is faster than you, it will catch you, and it doesn't have to stand still to throw its melee attack. The melee attack is done as the creature launches forward, hitting you no matter how fast you run the opposite direction. But enough of these annoying giant tarantula hawk spider wasps. Let's move on to the third strongest enemy in Fallout New Vegas, the Robo Scorpion. But not any Robo Scorpion, the X-42 giant Robo Scorpion. This is the ultimate guardian of Dr. Mobius, and it is absolutely huge, far larger and more unique than any other Robo Scorpion in the DLC. It is armed with a severely overpowered atomic laser which deals heaps of normal damage, but also high amounts of radiation damage with the blast radius of around a pulse grenade. This means that even behind cover, you'll face consequences. The fight with this evil creation happens in the Forbidden Zone Dome, and the highest level variant of it, which is level 50, has a huge health pool. Try to guess what it is. 1,000 perhaps. What about 2,000? Well, it's actually 3,500, and it has a damage threshold of 30. It also deals around 200 damage with its ranged laser beam attack, which is hugely menacing, and also 200 more points of damage with each melee strike it lands. As the stats show, this is one powerful enemy you do not want to fight. That all said, for really tanked up Fallout New Vegas characters, the X-42 giant Robo Scorpion can be a bit of a health bag, as wearing it down might be hard, but avoiding its attacks isn't super difficult. It can also be shut down using the Robotics Expert perk, although unlike other Robo Scorpions, this one will come back online after some time has passed. This can help you defeat it, however, and it also doesn't shoot its laser too quickly. It does a lot of talking and should do less talking and more blasting if it wanted to take the crown. Imagine if it just constantly dished out 200 damage. However, it's not the case. Obviously though, with 3,500 health and dealing heaps of damage when it does attack, it's still the third strongest enemy in the game, and no one should be worried about anything else mentioned so far on this list more than the level 50 variant of this guy. 3,500 health, simply ridiculous. And now we move to the second most powerful enemy in the game, the Deathclaw. You knew this one had to be on the list, however you probably won't guess which Deathclaw is the strongest. There's all kinds of Deathclaws in Fallout New Vegas, such as the Deathclaw Mother, who is dangerous in combat and runs stupidly fast. Fighting that thing in Quarry Junction is what nightmares are made of, but it isn't the strongest Deathclaw. We weighed up the stats between two contenders, the legendary Deathclaw and the highest level Deathclaw in Lonesome Road. We then realized that there was a third contender who ended up being stronger than both of them, and that is the unique Deathclaw called Raw. Raw shares their damage threshold of 15, moves and fights the same, but has 900 health and does 350 damage. This is the best health to damage ratio of all the Deathclaw contenders. You find him in a cave, and like the other Deathclaws I mentioned, you won't be able to outrun him. Similarly to a Cazador, he can catch you easily, and his lunging strikes will do 350 damage one after the other, and they're thrown quite quickly. This will kill even the most powerful builds very quickly, and if you're tank enough to withstand such a blow, he can actually knock you down with his attacks, leaving you unable to run away as he delivers 2 or 3 more while you try to stand back up. You're asking for trouble when you fight Raw, and like most of these super powerful opponents, I strongly recommend sneak attack kills to do the most damage before they can even react. I've seen this guy one-shot a lot of Fallout New Vegas players, although those who are dominant enough or prepare enough to defeat him will be able to kill him and take his claw, crafting the unarmed weapon called the Fist of Raw. This is the only Deathclaw gauntlet in the game, which makes it really memorable as well as deadly. Well then, without further ado, let's move on to the most powerful enemy in all of Fallout New Vegas. The most terrifying, the most fatal, the most disturbing being in the game. Even the toughest of warriors will shudder at the utterance of its name. It is an abomination that is so petrifying, so vicious and unforgiving that those who see its face will run and never look back, screaming in fear. The strongest enemy in Fallout New Vegas is Easy Pete. Just kidding, it's a Bloatfly. But seriously, enough of these jokes, right? I made the Bloatfly joke in our Fallout 4 video. But no, this is no joke. The strongest enemy in Fallout New Vegas is in fact a Bloatfly. It is the legendary Bloatfly, found in the mysterious cave at Big Mountain within the Old World Blues DLC. This bad boy boasts a damage resistance of 20 and health of 2,000 and a damage of 450. This is more damage than anything we've encountered so far on our list. Its green blast comes in the form of a plasma rifle looking shot. It has range, it's relatively quick, it's pretty accurate, and again, it does 450 damage. This is capable of one-shotting plenty of players, and the enemy itself has good maneuverability, being able to fly around obstacles to shoot at you when necessary. It also fires quickly, unlike the giant Robo Scorpion, which takes its time between shots. The damn Bloatfly is just relentless, and with 2,000 health, you're in for the fight of your life when you battle it. Now, like I said at the beginning, we've tested all of this stuff out, and we've had this legendary Bloatfly battle Raw. We've had him battle the X-42 giant Scorpion, Scorpion, and guess what? He wins every single time, even creaming both of them at the same time. He even beat 3 of the X-42 giant Robo Scorpions at once. We needed to spawn 4 roars to defeat the legendary Bloatfly, and the only reason the Deathclaws won was because they got lucky and knocked him down. If you take on this Bloatfly, I suggest using a high chance knockdown technique as well. Generally speaking, you won't have any luck fighting it as a melee character because it flies too high often. But even if you're coming in guns blazing with a fat man, just remember it has twice the health of a legendary Deathclaw, has a higher damage threshold, and deals almost twice the damage, but with range and constant firing. It's not like it has to reload its ass either, that's all inbuilt. Then when you kill it, you'll find its corpse has massive amounts of chems, which is probably why the thing is so big and dangerous in the first place. If you do run over to it after you kill it, however, you might do yourself in, because this bugger actually explodes similarly to a plasma grenade upon death. Have fun, and hopefully you end up turning it into a pile of green goo and not the other way around. Thank you guys so much for watching the video all the way through. Please subscribe for more videos like this if you're interested, and you can check out our social media links in the description too, and our Patreon account if you want to support us during the adpocalypse. We appreciate all your feedback, and we're incredibly grateful for those who like the video and share it. Our Fallout 4 Strongest Enemy video is also linked below, as mentioned at the start. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been Michael, and I look forward to nerding out with you again very soon.